Hi Maya, how's it going?
Hi Isla. Thank you. How are you?
Good, very well. Thanks.
Good. Okay, so would you like to tell me a bit about our new project?
Yes, so the project is an oyster restoration project close to Inverness. So there are a few firths in the area of Inverness, so please bear with me. You've got the Cromarty Firth, the Beauly Firth and the Inverness Firth. And the project will be focusing on these areas. It will be a community-led project, so engaging people at every step possible. And I'm from the Black Isle originally, just to the north of Inverness over the bridge. And I now live in Inverness, and when I started with Mossy Earth, I wanted to start a project close to home, and I wanted to involve people as much as possible in it. So that is how the project came to be. I noticed that there's not much going on compared to other places in terms of marine habitat restoration in the area. So I started the journey by reaching out to various people like Sea Wilding, who are based on the west coast of Scotland, and they connected me with other people in the area that were also interested in this too. That has led to us forming a partnership with a newly created community group called Moray Ocean Community. So in partnership with them, we're going to be investigating the feasibility of oyster restoration, and in conjunction with this, also investigating the feasibility of other marine restoration projects. So yeah,
okay,
in a nutshell, that's it.
Yeah. So it's about oysters then mainly.
Yes.
So what is so special about oysters? Why did you choose oysters, and what's their role in the whole ecosystem?
Yeah, so oysters were once present in the area where we're working. So the last record of a landing, I think, was from 1884. So that was a landing for fisheries, and that's the main reason why they were extirpated from much of the European coastline. But they're really special animals, and it's a shame that they're no longer here, because they're obviously a species, right? But they also form a habitat. They can form a biogenic or living reef, similar to what corals form in coral reefs. And this can provide a variety of nooks and crannies for all sorts of different species. Like, you'd really struggle to write a list of all of the species that they could positively impact. They also can reduce coastal erosion because they're providing a wee bit of a barrier to absorb wave energy. So they can protect habitats like seagrass habitats or seagrass meadows. But probably what they're most famously known for is their water filtration work, like most bivalves. So an adult native oyster can filter up to 240 litres of seawater daily, and this can increase water clarity or reduce turbidity, depending on how you want to describe it, which can be beneficial for a number of species, particularly those that need photosynthesis to survive, like seagrasses. So that is basically why we're focusing on oysters at the moment. Yeah.
So they play a huge role, actually.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's super interesting. So usually with these projects, I know that you biologists do a lot of work before we even launch the project. So could you tell me a bit about what you've done so far in this project?
Sure. So it really is a grassroots project, in that most of the work that I've done so far is in building relationships with people that will be key to the project. So in order for the project to succeed or to be sustainable, it obviously has to have a solid foundation within the community. So that's something that we're really working hard on from the beginning, to ensure that people in the local area are keen and supportive of the project and also are involved in it. So most of the work so far has been chatting to people. So Moray Ocean Community have been a big part of this. So I've been meeting with members of the community that are involved with Moray Ocean Community. I've become part of Moray Ocean Community as well. And also a wee while ago I reached out to local shellfish farmers, and they were really, really positive about the project, and we're actually working in partnership with local shellfish farmers in the Cormorty Firth now as well. So that's mostly what's happened so far. We've also started to buy equipment to undertake surveys. So there'll be two aspects to the oyster restoration feasibility investigations. That's a really, that rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? The first part they'll be happening at the same time as one another basically, but one of the parts will be undertaking baseline surveys. So this will involve intertidal and subtidal surveys. So intertidal surveys will be undertaken with members of the community and will be community led. And the subtidal surveys, we have just purchased a remote operated vehicle, or ROV. It's basically an underwater drone. So what we'll do is fly the drone. They say it's flying even though it's underwater, I've been told, so I'm not allowed to say that it swims.
Yeah.
We'll fly the drone in transects throughout the survey area, and if we're really lucky, I mean, native oysters are not thought to be present or to be alive in the project areas before at the moment. So hopefully we'll find live native oysters. That would be dream scenario. And then we'd have reefs from which to, or individuals from which to work from. So we'd build out from those populations. Or we'll need to take them in. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
The second part is oyster survival trials. So what this involves is that we source wee oysters and put them in baskets and then place them in the water and see whether they can still survive in the area, because obviously, as far as we know, the last records were over 100 years ago, so we're just making sure that the environment hasn't changed to a degree where they can no longer live there, for whichever reason that is. So we will be testing whether they can still survive and thrive there, and at the same time we'll be recording abiotic factors like temperature and salinity, because those can both have an impact on the chances of survival that oysters have, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like a very, very long project in a way, that it has 2 stages and a lot of things, a lot of factors involved. So do you have any timeline for the project at the moment? Yeah, so it's difficult to know. The project in its entirety will be multiple years if it's found that oyster restoration is at all feasible. So this stage will be at least a couple of years. So we'll be seeing, one, whether oysters still grow and at what rate they grow, and also whether there are areas which would be suitable as oyster restoration sites within the project area as well. So just basically somewhere where the marine substrate is suitable for oysters to establish themselves, and if the substrate isn't already there, then we'd potentially need to put it there, but obviously the ideal scenario is that it would already be there, because we're then having to alter things less. So yeah, this initial stage will be at least a couple of years. But the entirety of the project, if it's found that full-blown restoration is feasible, then it will be multiple years. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I guess the outcome you're hoping for is to be able to restore the oysters. But what do you see are the biggest challenges to that? Like what could hinder that from actually happening? Sure.
So the overall aim of the project is to, well, it has a few aims, to be honest. One of them is to form a connection between people and the marine environment in the area that we're working. Sorry, you might have heard my dog just shaking there, so sorry if that was on camera there. And the second is to establish a self-sustaining population of native oysters in the project area. So the main threats to that, I mean, ecosystems are so complex, there are so many potential factors that could potentially threaten restoration. But yeah, to put it bluntly, we're working in an area of the Scottish Highlands which is the most densely populated, and there is a lot of there are a lot of human factors at play in the surrounding area. So obviously, until we have a self-sustaining population, we'd hope that we refrain from taking oysters. So initially, the reason why they are no longer present in the area is because they were fished to the point that the populations couldn't reproduce anymore, or that's thought to have occurred or taken place. So we try to reduce those pressures or keep those pressures at bay until the population could restore itself, and only then could you have discussions about maybe having a small scale, sustainable fishery. But that would be tens of years down the line. So yeah, when you're restoring something or needing to restore something that's obviously fragmented and more vulnerable than it would be had it always been there. So the oysters will be more vulnerable to things like predation and also parasites. So there is a parasite called bonamia, which has impacted oyster populations throughout Europe, and we need to be careful in terms of biosecurity as well, that we don't take this parasite into the area. That's basically, there's lots of things that come into it basically. I could go on.
I can imagine. Okay, so those are like basically the worst case scenarios, I guess, in a way. So what would be then the best case scenario?
Yeah, the best case scenario would be that we have a self-sustaining, healthy, thriving population of native oysters that provide habitat for numerous species and then have knock-on positive impacts on a number of different things, including for people. So yeah, that would be the dream.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
So you mentioned in the beginning that the community, do you want to involve the community in it, in this project? So how do you see that happening?
Well, to be honest, like from the start, this project has started because of the community and because there's a hunger for it within the community. So the community in a way will be the project, if that makes sense. So when you build it in that way, whereby so for example, I'm a member of the community and I know of folk that are interested, and then they're also taking part. So I'm hoping that because it has roots in that way, that it will just grow and grow and people will become more interested in the local area and more people will know about it and hopefully continue to be supportive. But it's been really great so far.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I think that was all of my questions. I don't know if there is something that you would like to add to.
No, other than fingers crossed it just continues to go well.
Yeah.
And the dream for me, it would be if somewhere where we're working there is a population of native oysters that are still there somewhere, that are just waiting to be found and waiting to have certain pressures taken from them to allow them to flourish. How likely that is, I'm not sure, and how we do that, I'm also not sure, because we haven't really started in that way yet, but that is the dream.
Yeah. So now to begin with, we will be able to follow you, not swimming, but flying.
Flying
in the water, looking for oysters, and hopefully
flying,
you will find some.
Snorkeling, probably paddle boarding, probably getting really muddy in the intertidal area. Who knows where this is going to take us.
Okay, well that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Thanks for taking the time to chat about it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, bye.
Great. Cheers.